Let's have a look at question 9 to 12. Now, this passage talks about utopia and the notion of various thinkers regarding utopia, a utopian society. A utopian society, for your information, is an ideal society where everybody is happy and it's things are like equal, communal. So this is how it has been defined. Now, we begin by talking about a thinker, Thomas More, who gave a notion of utopia, and he talked about it as an egalitarian communal society of shared property. So his notion, his vision was a very balanced vision, which wherein utopian hopes were balanced by dystopian fears. However, half a millennium since, what has happened is that we have acquired a more dystopian notion, and we are now overburdened with dystopian nightmares, right? So, our society today, the postmodern society, as this passage calls it, is burdened with dystopian nightmares. It does not have a roadmap as a positive roadmap for building a better world. Then it talks about how Karl Marx criticized the term utopian, the term utopia. Okay, Karl Marx felt that the utopian thinkers were giving a blueprint of an ideal society. However, they were not looking at the realistic forces in the process of giving this blueprint. They were ignoring those realistic forces. So, another thinker, Frederick Jameson, actually had a diametrically opposite view. He felt that utopian imagination was essential to human liberation. He said that the imaginative inability to conceive of positive systemic change is one of the hallmarks of postmodernism. That means that our postmodern society today is unable to think of any positive systemic change. Okay, why? Because it did not have a utopian imagination. So this is what Jameson said. Jameson's view is pretty important in this passage. Then we also talk about other thinkers, other leading figures. For instance, Margaret Thatcher, who felt that there was no alternative to conservatism, to conservative ethos. Then we talk about how Karl Marx criticized thinkers like Charles Fourier and Henry Dissent, who again were supporters of utopian idealism. In Marx's opinion, actually, scientific socialism was superior to utopian socialism. He felt that utopian socialism again was disconnected from reality, and Wallerstein also held the same views as Marx, and he said that utopias are breeders of illusions and therefore inevitably of disillusion. So again, he was a critique of utopia. Then, towards the end, we again talk about Jameson, and these are some of the most important sentences of the passage where we talk about how Jameson said that it is utopian, this utopian notion that keeps the hope of a better society alive, that keeps social agitation alive in the hope of a better society. So he insisted that it is difficult enough to imagine any radical political program today without the conception of systemic otherness, of an alternate society which only the idea of utopia seems to keep alive, however feebly. And then the author agrees with Jameson's notion that while a utopian imagination isn't sufficient in and of itself to build a better world, but it's an essential prerequisite. So, this is what this passage is about, the notion of various thinkers regarding a utopian imagination. Now, coming to question 9, all of the following statements can be inferred from the passage except which one of the following? So, what cannot be inferred? A. The contemporary culture's imagination is predominantly dystopian. This is something that is stated, so it can be inferred. It cannot be the answer. Okay, I'll show you where it is mentioned. Let's read the others also. Some considered utopian socialism to be impractical as it ignored the realistic transforming forces. So, yes, the passage says that Karl Marx actually considered it to be impractical. Okay, so because it can be inferred, it cannot be the answer. The negative aspect of utopianism was cited by both Marx and Wallerstein. Again, this is correct. Both were critiques of utopianism. So our answer inevitably has to be D. Thomas More ushered in the era of dystopian nightmares where the utopian impulse is rarely heard. No, our passage says that his vision was a balanced vision. It was a vision of equipoise, a balanced vision. Let's go and check this. So this actually becomes false as per the passage, and therefore D has to be the answer. Let's see. So when we talk about Thomas More's vision, Thomas More's utopian hopes were balanced by his dystopian fears, with a new sense of human agency in the making of history, leading to possibilities both hopeful and dire. Right? And see, we later said the equipoise that More achieved has been lost in our own era. So he achieved equipoise, he achieved balance. His was a balanced vision. So D is false as per the passage. Then today, yes, in our culture, see, in our own era, we are more dystopians. Our fantasy life is overburdened with dystopian nightmares. So contemporary society, yes, this has a more of a dystopian notion as one of the option mentions. Then Karl Marx, yes, felt that it was disconnected from the real world. See this? This is mentioned. Karl Marx actually criticized these thinkers, Charles Fourier and Henry de Saint-Simon, who drew up blueprints for ideal societies, in his opinion, without considering the actual historical dynamics and conjuncture of forces that could realistically bring about change. So Karl Marx felt that utopianism was probably not very connected with reality. Okay, so that means while D is the clear answer, we have also eliminated A and B. Okay, and Marx and Wallerstein, this is also mentioned here. See, against both Marx and Wallerstein. That means Marx and Wallerstein echoed some similar things. And see, this is again insisted, listed that Marx said something, and in that same spirit, Wallerstein, Immanuel Wallerstein also said something. So at in various paragraphs, we can see that A, B, and C are mentioned. They can be rejected. D, on the other hand, the opposite of this is mentioned, and therefore this is the answer. So in case you've understood this passage, the passage is a difficult read, but in case you've understood it, then this should not pose much of a problem for you, right?